William Hill sponsors IFL TV.
I'm the man to beat Daniel Dubois. You're going to sleep.
Definitely coming out every time.
Well, he's saying
the whisper, but
he's saying he's going to come back for one fight. He's mentioned Groves, Chavez Jr. You could do that, couldn't you?
Well, contacts me now, so I'd be snookered. It'd have to be like, what was it? See no evil, hear no evil. right, boom, left, boom. I mean, I keep myself in good shape of it, but listen, my fight days are over now. I'm happily retired. I mean, listen, like Brian said, you start watching the boxing, you think, oh, I could do it.
I can do that.
The reality is, I'm 48 now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm happy. I'm in the shape I'm in at 48, but 5 rounds, I'll have to give it a miss, I'm afraid.
Okay, guys.
Good luck, Carl.
Wish Carl the very best of luck in his comeback. He's not doing it for money, because Carl's a wealthy man. He's earned his money the hard way. He's been in some phenomenal fights.
Yeah.
Right. So he's doing it because he knows he's got something left in the tank. Because have to is a horrible master. A lot of fighters make comebacks because they need the money. I made a comeback because I needed the money. So he's not doing it because he needs the money. He's doing it because he knows he's got something left.
You just never know with Cole. He's a bit of a wind-up merchant as well, isn't he?
He's always kept himself in good shape since he retired. So that's a good fighter.
That's true.
Going in his favour. So I wish him all the best. There is a bit of truth in it.
Okay, guys, well, have a fantastic night here. Hopefully I can catch up with you at some point later. I'll see if I can get a drink inside you. Maybe you can do a couple of your impressions later. We'll see.
The boxer Nigel BENN, very tough fighter, very tough. Nigel hits like a mule, but I'm a boxer. Nigel BENN, over to you. Chris Eubank, maybe not right. The guy's not right. He's popping the bag in chompers, man, chompers. And then boots, man. What the boots all about, man? We're boxers. Come on, Chris, what's up, man? Tyson. One thing about all these, you've all got this, even though I ain't got one, you've all got this, so it makes it a bit easier. Mike Tyson. Oh, I got a minute, Mike Tyson. I'm getting ready to fight, man. I'm walking to the ring, I'm afraid of what this man might do to me, man. I'm afraid of losing, I'm afraid of getting hurt. As I'm walking to the ring, man, I get confident, I get more confident. As I enter the ring, I'm like, God, I'm Mike Tyson, the great heavyweight that is, man. Check out night to the podcast, man. You never big good like me. You point your finger and shit. There goes the bad guy. You ain't never gonna see a fucking bad guy in this world, right? So fuck you, fuck the liar, man, right? Share what with my little friend. I don't like that, right? I don't see you laughing now, you stupid fuck. Look at you now, huh? What do you think I'm wearing like you?
This is Scotty Silver for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm pleased to be joined by Barcelona Olympic medalist and 3-time world champion as well, the one and only Mr. Reid. Looking as good as ever, mate. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I am very good, thanks. Another great night in Lanzarote at one of our guest speaking nights. We had Brian McGee over talking about his career and that, and Brian also being a former opponent of mine. I fought him for his IBO world title, I think it was 2002 or thereabouts. Then I went over to Belfast for Brian and beat him on points, but this is boxing, we've had this is the first time I've seen him since the fight. We chat on social media a bit, Facebook and whatnot, but like I said, it's the first time I've met him since the fight, and it was nice. I was quite excited actually when I found out it was Brian, because it's that's the nice thing, or one of the nice sides of boxing. I mean, it is a lot of rivalry and bit, like fighters hating each other and all the rest of it. But me and Brian didn't, we didn't need that before the fight. We were two great champions fighting each other. So we've always had that respect. We didn't need any needle before the fight. We had a great fight, and.
It was a good fight, because I've got to quickly touch on this as well. I mean, Brian's a lovely guy as well. It's the first time I've actually met Brian. But you'd come off a couple of really bad decisions in Germany. How was your mindset, sort of going over to Belfast, fighting Brian, who was the world champion as well, in his own backyard, knowing you've had those, coming away from the decision? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, you know, at the time, it was going through my mind a lot because, you know, I had the Joe Calzaghe fight, which had lost on a split decision, you know, and it was quite a close fight. I thought I just nicked it, you know, and a lot of other people thought I just nicked the fight. You know, but it was a close fight, it was a good fight, and Joe got the decision. You would have thought there'd have been an automatic rematch, but there wasn't, you know, and Joe never gave me the rematch to this day. So, you know, I had that, you know, and then there was the Sven Ocker fight over in Germany. And like you say, the Joe Calzaghe fight, at least it were close, do you know what I mean? Whereas the Sven Ocker fight over in Germany, which was for 2 titles as well, the WBA and the IBF, WBA Super and the IBF, both titles on the line, owned by Sven Ocker, obviously, at the time. So I had to go to Germany. And I know what they're saying is you've got to knock him out to get a draw, you know. And I did that in Italy when I won the WBC. I did actually knock Vincenzo Nardiello out in the 7th round. But that's a saying in my book, do you know what I mean? It's just a saying that, like, you're up against it when you're going over to the other guy's backyard. You know, in my eyes, you know, as long, you know, not as long. If I'd have gone over with that attitude to Germany or Ireland, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you got to knock them out to get a draw and all that. Then you're not going to be, you know you're up against it anyway. Do you know what I mean? So if you're looking for a knockout or trying to knock somebody out, that makes it 10 times harder when you're looking for that knockout. So, like you say, when I fought Sven Ocker, my attitude was that, like, you know, go over there, perform to the best of your performance, to your best of your ability, should I say, and that should, you know, if you win on points, you know, they should give you the decision, you know what I mean, as long as it's not close, and it wasn't close, do you know what I mean? You know, it was hard to give Sven Ocker a round out of them 12, do you know what I mean, than the 12 that they give him. You know, so I had that on my mind going over to fight Brian. You know, and there's still a little bit of trouble back in the day in Ireland. You know, it was 2002.
Very partisan.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I was the underdog again. But I loved it, to be honest, because I remember when I walked out. And like you say, me and Brian didn't actually have any need, though, because there was no need, you know, as such. We were two, you know, good champions who wanted to fight each other, and that was that. You know, I didn't dislike him as such. I didn't really know him personally or anything like that. So at the end of the day, the fight was made. We took the fight. But I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be hard. And like you say, I'd had, you know, the Sven Ocker was still playing on my mind a little bit. So I'm going over to Ireland, Belfast, the King's Hall against an Irishman who's a big hero over there again. Yeah, but you know what? To be fair, you know, the judging and the ref, you know, was fair. You know, he was good. Do you know what I mean?
He was fair.
He was fair.
And you got out of the arena alive.
Exactly. And to be fair, you know, before the fight, I mean, as I walked out for the fight, you know, they were pelting me with, you know, drink cartons and all that. And shout, I can't say on film what they were actually saying, but you know, fuck off, you English bastard and all this, like, do you know what I mean? But I loved that, no, because, you know what I mean, I love being the underdog, you know, and you know, as we go, I'll go, come on, and it actually wound me up a bit, like, you know. But yeah, I'm not saying I needed that to wound me, but it wound me up that little bit more walking towards the fight, and I think it made for a great fight anyway. Yeah. You know, and afterwards, fair play to the Irish, they loved the boxing, and we both got a standing ovation after the fight, and that's how it should be. And that's how it should be. Yeah, do you know what I mean? We got the boos and the jeers as I come in, but as I was leaving, we got a round of applause both for us for such a good fight. So
I've got to quickly touch on another one of your opponents as well, Carl Froch.
Yep.
You never know if Carl's been just on the wind-up, but he has sort of said he'd come out of retirement to fight maybe Groves or Chavez Jr. Would you put your name in the hat? Because you have toyed with the idea sometimes.
I mean, no, I'll be honest, no, I couldn't. I mean, as much as, not I'd like to, I think about it in my mind sometimes. You know, and I've got myself in good shape, not to fight, just because I wanted to keep fit. And, you know, my little lad sees pictures of me and sees me on the, my little boy Oscar, he sees me on the TV, he wants to watch me fights now. He's like, oh, Daddy, why haven't you, well, he was saying this a year ago, why haven't you got your six-pack anymore? So I thought, and he was asking me to get my six-pack back, so I thought, you know what, for my little boy. So I did it last year, got my ass back in the gym, got myself back in shape, and I've kept it down. You know, there's, like Ryan was saying there in the talk, you know, one of the biggest struggles for a boxer was making the weight, you know, but now I'm settled at, you know, at the ripe old age of 48, I don't have to fight anymore to make weight. The weight's dropped off me and I'm just ticking over in the gym doing what I'm doing, and the weight stays off. I'm like 12.5 stone now. I mean, I was touching 12 stone a couple of months back, but I was probably overdoing it with the training because I got that training book again. But I make the, you know, 12.5 stone now easy, like, so yeah, it's all good, it's all good.
Brilliant. And I've also got to say as well, now I didn't know this until I started doing all the IFL on Facebook and whatever and being in charge of the videos. I didn't know that you are the very first professional boxer that Coogan Cassius ever interviewed for what was then IFL London back in 2000.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have realised that until you told me tonight. So what I'm trying to work out is, have I got to send McGee a bill? No, I mean, listen, look how he took off. You know, it's brilliant. Like, you know, and he does a great, yourself as well. Coogan does a great job, you know, for what he does, and yeah, it's nice to know that I was one of the first. What was that? The first or one of the first?
You was the first one that Coogan interviewed.
Brilliant!
On that
happy days.
Night,
Yes, and that's good to know.
And here we are now with over 450,000 subscribers.
Exactly, you know, so it just goes to show, and it just goes to show how popular the boxing is, and it always will be. Like, you know, I mean, you know, you got your other combat sports like MMA and UFC, you know, and I respect them. Don't get me wrong, but you know, and you got BKB now, you know, the bare knuckle boxing. I do a lot of commentary on that, but like boxing, glove boxing, just shows you how big it is. You know, because some people will say in a few years, but it's going to fizzle out when the, you know, the MMA and the UFC come on the scene. Like I say, no disrespect to them sports. You know, I've got a lot of respect for any person who gets in any sort of ring. But boxing's still up there, big time. Do you know what I mean? And it always will be.
And it will.
It always will be.
And lastly, just before we go, you're here with John O'Brien, who was part of the famous Ingle stable back in the day with Prince Nassim, Ryan Rose, Johnny Nelson. Now, being in Lanzarote, can you see why more and more boxers are actually coming over to the Canary Islands as opposed to going to like Vegas to do their training camps? I mean, it's a lovely island to come and train in.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I've said this since I could. I wish I'd, you know, I mean, I can only go back off when I was fighting training camps, and I wish I'd have known John back then, you know, because I would have loved to have come out. It's perfect conditions. You've got the heat all year round, you know, and I love that. I'm one of them fighters. Even if you're not going to make weight, you know, I'm one of them fighters who loves after the session when you're soaking in sweat's pouring out of you. So my advice to any fighter, you know, who goes away to camp and all that, consider Lanzarote, because you've got the weather, you've got the gym, you know, you got lads over here, you know, some of Jono's lads that are fighters, you know, that are good for the sparring. We had Jimmy Sweeney over not so long ago. A couple of weeks ago, actually, Jimmy Sweeney, the BKB 3-time world champion. He came over for his first camp, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Loved it, you know, and he's going to come out again. He's going to base himself, well, not base himself here, but he's going to, you know, do a lot of his camps out here when he's preparing for his title fights. And I think a lot more boxers should get onto it, you know. So if you're listening, guys, you know, give John O'Brien a ring. The Robin Reid and Thunderbolt boxing gym, Lanzarote. Give it a look. Check it out, guys. It's well worth it. Hot weather all year round. Easy to make the weight, and you've got all the training conditions as well.
And with that, Rob Reid, pleasure joining me again.
Thank you very much,
Many thanks, mate.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers, mate.
William Hill sponsors IFL TV.
I'm the man to beat Daniel Dubois. You're going to sleep.